Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today's video will be my May wrap-up, and I read 8 books in the month of May, so let's get started. The first book I finished in the month of May was An Ember in the Ashes by Enchanter Heir. I actually haven't hauled this yet. I haven't hauled like 3 of the books in this wrap-up, so this is like a sneak peek for y'all. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was a little slow in the beginning, so I docked a star for that. I love Leia and Elias, and I love just the storyline in general. However, this is actually going to be, I don't know, like a series or a duology or something like that. Even though it was, what is that word, like promoted or whatever that word is, as a standalone, which it is definitely not a standalone because nothing was resolved at the end of the book, and the 2 characters go off like on a little adventure at the end of the book, and so it should not have been said that it was going to be a standalone because it's definitely not going to be. Penguin has bought the rights to a sequel from Enchanter Heir, so I do look forward to reading the sequel. The next book I finished was Cruel by Jennifer Albin. This is the first book in a trilogy, and this was actually my book club pick of the month of May. Next month, actually month of June, so this month, the book club pick is Codename Verity. Jeez, I'm forgetting everything today. I gave this one, I believe, a 3.5 out of 5 or 4 star. I forget what exactly I gave it. It is about a girl who can see, like, threads of time, or see the threads that make up everything, and she can, like, pluck them or pull them or, like, manipulate them. Anyway, I'm not explaining it very well. I did a full review of this on my channel. I will leave a link to that review down below because I'm just not explaining it very well right now. The next book I finished was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Neven. This is a YA contemporary novel that deals with suicide and suicidal thoughts, so if you have a problem with that, I would not suggest this book. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and here's why. I was originally going to give it 3 out of 5 because I just hated how the other characters, not the main characters, but the other characters just didn't notice what these characters were going through. Like, I felt like, oh, it's pretty obvious. This kid is standing at the top of a tower about to jump, and you don't do anything about it. Like, I was so frustrated with that. But then, he's an odd character. This character's name is Finch, and the girl character's name is Violet. And they kind of meet up together, and they have to do a school project, and just stuff happens, and I just got frustrated because, like, the adults or the parents they didn't do anything about this. Like, you couldn't tell. I just got so frustrated with that. But then when I finished this book, I realized that I read the author's note actually in the back, and that made me realize that it's actually pretty easy for people who have suicidal thoughts or anything like that to hide their feelings and to hide what they're going through and to, like, make it come off as a joke. And I realize that is very easy for them to do, or even, like, if an adult realizes that what this kid is going through, they might not, like, do anything about it because they might not see the right signs, or they choose to ignore them because they don't believe it. So I like how the author Jennifer Neven dealt with suicide in this book and suicidal thoughts, and I really liked how that was done and portrayed, so I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was very heartbreaking. It's very sad, but I did enjoy it. The next book I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is probably my favorite book of the year so far. It is about a girl named Feyre who lives in a world where there are fairies in the upper half, and then divided by a wall, the human world's down below. It is illegal for humans to kill fairies, and Feyre accidentally kills a fairy, and then another fairy shows up and says, hey, you're not supposed to do that, so you're gonna come with me and live with me in my spring court. And I just loved the characters. I love Feyre, I love Tamlin, I love Lucien, and I do like Rhysand, who is kind of like a bad guy, but kind of not. You will understand if you read this book. I love the relationship between Tamlin and Feyre, and how Tamlin tried so hard to, like, get her attention, and it was just the cutest thing ever, and I loved it. I actually, when I finished it, I really just wanted to pick it up and just start all over again because it was so good. I can't wait to read the next book in the series because I really need to know what happens between these characters. I loved it so much. Also, this cover is freaking gorgeous. The next book I read was The Forever Song by Julie Kagawa, the last book in the Blood of Eden trilogy. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars because it wasn't as good as the other ones. However, it was a solid conclusion to a great trilogy. If you don't know, this series follows a girl named Allison who lives in a world where vampires exist and humans live in cities that are run by vampires, and they are given food in return for giving the vampires blood. But there are also things called rabbits that are pretty much these like advanced zombies almost, and they are very deadly. And Allison actually gets killed by one of these rabbits, but she gets transformed by a vampire, and she becomes a vampire. And it was just a very enjoyable vampire trilogy. I loved the characters. I loved Kanan. I loved Jackal. I loved Zeke. I loved Allison. She's very badass. And I do have to say that this one kind of broke my heart in the end, but it was okay because stuff worked out. But yeah, I just love this trilogy so much, and it was a very enjoyable conclusion to it. The next book I read was The Enchanter Heir by Cinda Williams-Chima, and this book is the 4th book in the Heir Chronicles series. This one was written a couple years after the 3rd one came out. You should read the previous 3 before reading this one. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't as good as the other ones. It was a little slow at times, but I did like the build-up, and I'm excited to see where this goes in the last book, which is called The Sorcerer Heir. If you don't know, this series follows a bunch of characters, actually. The first one's called The Warrior Heir, and it is about a boy who is a warrior heir, and there are these guilds, they're guilds where there's sorcerer, enchanter, seer, warrior. I'm missing something, and wizard. I think that's all of them. I believe there's 5 main guilds, I should say. And the one in this one is born to the Enchanter Heir, and then stuff happens, obviously. And I'm not really explaining this very well, but I will say that Cinda Williams-Chima is one of my favorite authors, and I did get to meet her at the Teen Book Festival. I did a vlog for that, and I will leave a link to that down below. I got to meet her, and I got this one signed by her. It says, "To Cassidy, it was great meeting you." And I got a couple of her books signed by her as well. And yeah, I'm just super excited to finish up this series. The next book I read was Bare to You by Sylvia Day. This is the first book in a series of adult novels, romance novels, I should say. This one you should not read if you are below the age of, I'm going to say 16. I'm not really good at the whole age thing, but there is a lot of sex, and it is very detailed. So yeah, just be aware of that. It is about a girl. This will remind you of another story. It is about a girl who goes to work at her job. This is in New York City, and the person who owns this whole building, called Crossfire Industries or something, she meets him, and then they kind of fall in love, and he's just like, "Hey, I want to have sex with you," and that's where it goes. He pretty much just said, "Are you seeing anyone?" And she's like, "No," and he's like, "Okay, let's get together and have sex." It's pretty much how it goes. However, I did enjoy it. It's kind of like a guilty pleasure for me. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The storyline was okay at times. Well, it was good until like certain points, because when they're in a relationship and when they had issues, they resolved it by having sex, which is very unhealthy. So that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But needless to say, it is like a guilty pleasure for me, and I will be continuing on with the series, especially since I have them over on my other bookshelf. So yeah. And then the last book I read this month was actually a graphic novel, and it is called Bedlam Boy by Paul Pope. This one I gave 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I didn't realize it was actually a series, so this one's the first one, and it ends off where like the story obviously isn't done. So I do have to say that I do like the artwork, for instance. I like that. The artwork was very enjoyable and very visual, and I love like looking at it. This story follows a boy who is the son of a god, and he was sent down to Earth to help the people of that like town defend themselves against monsters. And he is known as Bedlam Boy. That's what his dad calls him, and that's what he wants to go by, but that's not what the name they gave him. I forget what the name they gave him was. But yeah, it was an enjoyable read, but not the greatest, and I don't know if I will continue with the series when the other books come out. I don't even know. I didn't even like look it up. I don't know if I will be continuing on with it or not. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. So those were all the books that I read in the month of May. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please comment down below and tell me if you have read any of these books and what you thought about them. Please like the video and subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!